Have you ever stumbled across an animated piece that felt a little too strange for comfort? The kind that starts out harmless but slowly pulls you into a world that feels off in the best possible way. Hidden in the corners of animation history are cartoons that pushed imagination so far they slipped out of the spotlight. Some were forgotten, others quietly rediscovered, and a few still feel like puzzles waiting to be solved. Let's open the vault. Number 15. The Hand, 1965. At first glance, The Hand looks like a gentle puppet short. A lonely artist shapes delicate clay creations in his quiet room. But then a large gloved hand begins to appear, silently interrupting his peaceful work. It never speaks or threatens, yet its constant presence slowly shifts the tone from calm to uneasy. One moment it offers tools. The next it nudges the artist toward projects he never asked for. The tension comes not from loud moments, but from the way the hand fills the room, like an expectation he cannot escape. Jyzzy Trnka's animation is beautifully simple. Every puppet feels handcrafted, every prop carefully placed. Yet that softness contrasts with the growing pressure the artist faces. He tries to continue his gentle work, but the hand returns again and again, guiding him toward something larger and less personal. Viewers sense his quiet frustration even though no words are exchanged. This short earned praise for its craftsmanship, but it was also tucked away for years, adding to its mystique. People revisiting it today often comment on how surprisingly powerful it feels. The Hand is not frightening. It is thoughtful, symbolic, and quietly intense, proving that animation can explore big ideas through the smallest gestures. Number 14. The Bellies, 1970. The Bellies begins like a cheerful cartoon from a children's show. Round, bouncy characters roll across pastel landscapes, wobbling happily as they explore their world. But the further the short goes, the stranger it becomes. Scenes drift into each other without warning. Shapes stretch in odd ways. The Bellies start reacting to invisible forces, almost as if the environment has its own plans. There's nothing harmful, yet something about the rhythm feels pleasantly off. What makes this short memorable is its dreamlike style. Instead of dialogue, everything is communicated through motion and sound. The Bellies squeak, shuffle, and bounce with exaggerated expressions that swing between cute and uncanny. Colors pulse softly. Backgrounds shift like living paintings. The overall effect feels like stepping into a daydream that doesn't follow normal rules. This Spanish short was part of a wave of experimental European animation that embraced abstract art. Many children watched it without fully grasping its tone, while adults rewatching it later realized how bold and unusual it really was. It's the kind of cartoon that leaves you wondering what you just experienced. The Bellies remains a small but fascinating piece of animation history, blending charm with a surreal twist that keeps it unforgettable. Number 13. The Brothers Grunt, 1994. The Brothers Grunt is one of those shows that makes you pause and ask if it was truly real. Created during MTV's wild experimental phase, the series followed pale, rubbery-looking creatures who groaned, stretched, and sprinted through a world that barely made sense. They communicated mostly through strange noises, turning everyday actions into dramatic moments full of exaggerated movement. The brothers are on a quest to find one of their missing siblings, but the story often drifts into unpredictable detours, filled with odd characters and sudden bursts of energy. Scenes shift suddenly, leaving viewers unsure what might happen next. That unpredictability became the show's signature style. The animation is intentionally rough and surreal, giving every expression an over-the-top elasticity. The sound design is equally unusual, relying on grunts and high-pitched squeals instead of typical dialogue. The result is chaotic, messy, and strangely fun to watch. Although the show didn't last long, it gained a reputation as one of MTV's boldest animated experiments. People who rediscover it today often laugh at how far it pushed simple ideas into absurd territory. It's weird, loud, and completely unique. The kind of series that could only have come from the mid-90s. Number 12. Salad Fingers, 2004. Salad Fingers became an instant internet legend because of its calm yet uncanny mood. The series introduces a thin, soft-spoken character living in a fading landscape where everything looks worn and quiet. He interacts with old objects as if they're his companions, treating them with gentle care that feels both sweet and slightly mysterious. The world around him is empty but alive with subtle sounds, faint winds, distant echoes, soft piano notes. Scenes stretch a little longer than expected, which keeps viewers on edge without anything loud happening. The animation is intentionally rough, giving every movement a slow, drifting quality that adds to the atmosphere. Each short follows Salad Fingers meeting someone or discovering something new, and his reactions are always polite, yet unusual. The tone stays firmly PG safe, but the emotional weight comes from the silence and stillness of the world. Viewers are left wondering about the past of this empty place and why it feels so delicate. Salad Fingers grew from a small online project into a cultural phenomenon. People still analyze its meaning, debate its symbolism, and revisit the episodes for their distinct mood. It doesn't shock. It lingers quiet, strange, and unforgettable. Number 11. Animalympics, 1980. The animated comedy, Animalympics, was designed to be upbeat and full of bright humor, but the deleted segments reveal a very different side of the project. These rarely seen clips feature quiet, dreamlike sequences that don't match the fast pace of the final film. Instead of energetic competitions, some scenes show characters drifting through misty fields or walking through soft, stylized landscapes with calm music playing behind them. One segment features a character gazing toward a horizon for an unusually long moment, giving the scene a gentle, reflective feel. Another shows a slow-motion sequence lit with warm colors that feels more like an art film than a cartoon comedy. These moments are peaceful, slightly surreal, and clearly cut because they didn't fit the lively tone of the finished movie. The difference is striking. Where Animalympics is normally cheerful and quick, these deleted pieces feel thoughtful and atmospheric. They show that the animators were experimenting with quieter moods before the film took its final form. Over time, fans uncovered these clips through old recordings and online archives. Many were surprised to see just how artistic and unusual the unused material was. These forgotten scenes offer a unique glimpse into the film's creative process and prove how varied animation can be. Number 10. The Secret of the Magic Gum, 1976. The Secret of the Magic Gum starts as a cheerful children's short, then quietly shifts into something far more imaginative. It follows a boy who finds a special gum that brings everyday objects to life. A pencil wiggles, toys hop across tables, and colors seem to glow with extra energy. Everything feels fun at first, until the magic begins behaving in unexpected ways. Objects stretch like soft rubber, backgrounds bend as if reacting to the boy's excitement. Even the shadows move with a slow, thoughtful rhythm. Nothing turns alarming, but the atmosphere gains a dreamy strangeness that makes the short unforgettable. The animation style is bright and loose, full of exaggerated shapes and smooth, swooping motion. You can tell the artists were experimenting, blending playful comedy with surreal visuals. Scenes flow into one another without stopping, almost like the world is drifting along with the boy's imagination. When the short aired, children enjoyed the lively magic, while adults later realized how bold and experimental it actually was. It captures the feeling of being young and letting your imagination rush ahead faster than reality can keep up. The Secret of the Magic Gum remains one of the most intriguing gems of 70s animation. Number 9. Unico, The Fantastic Adventure Pilot, 1979. The original Unico, The Fantastic Adventure Pilot, is a surprisingly dreamy piece of animation. Long before the character appeared in polished films, this early version sent the tiny unicorn wandering through shifting skies, bending forests, and landscapes that looked like watercolor paintings in motion. The pilot story is simple. Unico travels from one magical place to another, meeting unusual creatures and watching the world change with each step. But the tone sets it apart. Scenes dissolve softly into new ones. Clouds move in looping patterns. Trees stretch in gentle curves, Everything feels slightly unreal, like a gentle dream you drift into without thinking. The animation glows with warm colors, and the pacing is slower than later Unico projects. Instead of focusing on action, the pilot invites viewers to absorb the visuals. Characters appear with charming but unusual designs that make the world feel alive in a quietly surreal way. Because the pilot never achieved wide release, it became a hidden treasure for fans who later tracked it down. Many were surprised by how artistic and experimental it was compared to the later films. This early Unico short stands as a soft, imaginative, and unusually mystical introduction to the beloved character. Number 8. The Nightmare, 1980. The Nightmare is a Danish stop-motion short that perfectly captures the drifting feeling of an unusual dream. It begins with a child falling asleep in a cozy room. Once the dream begins, everything transforms. Colors soften, objects stretch gently, and familiar shapes begin acting in quiet, unpredictable ways. The handmade sets give the world a warm but slightly odd tone. Toy blocks wobble as if they're alive. Hallways grow longer with each step. A small lamp flickers in slow, steady pulses. Nothing harmful appears, but the dream slowly tilts into a space that feels unfamiliar. The sound design is soft and distant. Instead of loud effects, you hear faint footsteps, gentle hums, and echoes that seem to come from far away. The animation's slight wobble adds to the dreamlike atmosphere, making every movement feel as if it's floating. Many viewers who saw the short as children remembered it without knowing its name. Adults returning to it praise its ability to recreate that quiet moment when a pleasant dream becomes a little too strange to fully understand. The Nightmare is a beautiful example of how stop-motion can turn simple ideas into soft, surreal worlds that stay with you long after the dream ends. Number 7. The Adventures of Mark Twain, The Mysterious Stranger Scene, 1985. In The Adventures of Mark Twain, most scenes are light and playful, but the famous mysterious stranger moment feels like stepping into a completely different world. Tom, Huck, and Becky meet a floating figure who calmly forms a tiny clay world with gentle hand movements. At first, everything seems peaceful. Small clay people walk around, little buildings appear, and the landscape glows softly. Then the tone shifts. The miniature world begins to ripple with subtle changes. The sky darkens slightly. The ground curves in unusual ways. The clay figures move with a rhythm that feels thoughtful and oddly expressive. The lighting deepens, giving the scene a soft, dream-like glow. The children watch with wide eyes, reflecting exactly how viewers feel. There is nothing alarming here, just a carefully built atmosphere that feels mysterious and artistic. This scene became legendary because it feels so different from the rest of the movie. It blends clay animation, thoughtful pacing, and a tone that leaves people speechless without using a single loud moment. Fans continue to revisit this sequence for its beauty and quiet depth. It remains one of the most mesmerizing moments in 80s animation. Number 6. Cat Soup, 2001. Cat Soup is one of the most visually imaginative animated shorts ever made. It follows two sibling cats who travel through a world that looks like a dream-changing shape. Oceans curve upward, skies ripple like cloth, and streets twist into patterns that defy reality. There is almost no dialogue. Instead, the story unfolds through smooth transitions and shifting environments. One moment, the characters walk across a quiet desert, and the next, they drift through a pale, watery world where the horizon blends into white. Every scene feels like a painting brought to life. The color palette shifts constantly. Soft pastels give way to deep shades, then fade back to lighter tones. The pacing is slow and thoughtful, allowing each image to settle before moving to the next. Cat Soup doesn't explain itself. That's part of its charm. It invites viewers to interpret the journey however they choose. Some see it as emotional, others see it as a playful experiment in animation style. What everyone agrees on is its creativity. Cat Soup is gentle, surreal, and quietly powerful. A short film that proves animation can explore feelings and ideas without saying a single word. Number 5. Angel's Egg, 1985. Angel's Egg is one of the quietest and most visually poetic animated films ever made. It follows a young girl wandering through a misty, nearly empty world while protecting a large egg she carries close to her. She walks past silent buildings, still pools of water, and towering statues that appear through drifting fog, each adding to the film's soft, mysterious mood. There is almost no spoken dialogue. Instead, the film communicates through gentle sound effects and its incredible artwork. Light reflects off puddles, shadows stretch across broken stone, trees sway in slow motion. Every scene moves with patience, inviting viewers to take in the details instead of rushing to the next moment. Halfway through the journey, the girl meets a quiet traveler who seems to understand her world in ways she doesn't. Their conversations are brief and thoughtful, adding even more mystery without revealing too much. The film never tries to deliver big twists. It simply builds a feeling that grows stronger the longer you watch. Angel's Egg has gained a dedicated following because of its beauty and calm, surreal tone. It feels more like a dream gently drifting across the screen than a traditional story. Even decades later, viewers still remember its atmosphere. Number 4. Dead Time Stories, 1992. Dead Time Stories is an early 90s animated anthology that managed to feel spooky and playful at the same time. Each episode presents a short tale with a simple plot, but the visuals give the series its charm. Shadows stretch in unusual ways, colors glow softly, and characters move with slightly exaggerated expressions that make everything feel just a bit surreal. The stories range from enchanted forests to puzzling clocks and mysterious objects that behave unpredictably. Nothing harmful happens, but every tale carries a quiet sense of curiosity, as if something just outside the frame is guiding the story. The pacing is gentle, and every episode ends with a warm, lesson-like moment. The animation style stands out. Backgrounds look painted, characters bounce with a soft rhythm, and small details appear in the corners of the screen for viewers who pay attention. The sound design also helps set the mood. A faint whisper here, a soft creak there, enough to make the world feel alive without becoming too intense. Dead Time Stories never became a massive hit, but those who watched it remember how its strange little tales felt different from typical cartoons of the era. It's a reminder of how creative children's animation could be when storytellers blended warm humor with gentle oddness. Number 2. The Key Brothers, Street of Crocodiles, 1986. The Key Brothers' Street of Crocodiles is a stop-motion masterpiece that feels like stepping into a forgotten attic filled with moving memories. The short opens with a small puppet awakening inside a dimly lit workshop full of gears, threads, and antique tools. Nothing speaks, but everything seems alive. The puppet wanders through narrow corridors and dusty rooms where objects twitch gently or sway, as if reacting to a silent rhythm. Strings dangle from above, tiny screws roll across the floor, and fragments of cloth flutter even when there's no breeze. The movement is quiet and precise, giving the world a delicate, dreamlike pulse. Lighting plays a huge role. Soft glows highlight metal surfaces, while shadows stretch across wooden walls, creating an eerie but beautiful atmosphere. The sound design adds faint clicks and distant hums that make every corner feel inhabited. There's no traditional plot. The short feels like a guided exploration of imagination, where the puppet discovers odd relics and strange machines without explanation. The mood is thoughtful, artistic, and slightly uncanny, without ever becoming harsh. Street of Crocodiles gained praise for its craftsmanship and stands today as one of the most influential stop-motion films ever made. Its world is strange, textured, and unforgettable. Number 1. The Mascot, 1933. Stairwitch's The Mascot is an early stop-motion classic that still feels surprisingly energetic and imaginative. The story follows a tiny toy dog who comes to life when his owner isn't around. With expressive glass eyes and lively movements, he sets off on an unpredictable journey beyond the safety of home. The world he enters is full of quirky, animated objects. Old toys shuffle with stiff but charming motions. Shoes tap rhythmically, as if remembering a dance. Teacups spin gently, sliding across tables in playful patterns. None of the scenes are threatening, but the unusual combinations of objects create a lively, slightly strange atmosphere. The animation is remarkable for its time. Stairwitch crafted every frame with precision, giving even the smallest props personality. The toy dog tilts his head in thoughtful ways, trots with confidence, and reacts to surprises with expressive body language that feels incredibly modern for a film from the early 30s. The most famous moment is a lively gathering in a cluttered basement, where everyday items wake up and move together in a chaotic but entertaining way. It's artistic, strange, and full of life. The mascot remains a landmark in animation history, proving early filmmakers were unafraid to explore imaginative worlds long before modern techniques existed. Strange cartoons always leave a mark. They twist familiar ideas, stretch reality, and remind us how far imagination can go. If any of these hidden gems sparked your curiosity, tell me which one stood out. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten animation. There are still countless strange worlds waiting to be uncovered.